conservative. I mean, he may be a big government conservative, but he is a conservative. So some of these conservative members of the House caucus are going to, if they're half and half, they may get pushed over by Bush focusing them one last time.
See, I think they're more concerned about whether or not they're going to be reelected in November.
Well, that's high on their list. There's a number of people, first of all, who are retiring, and so they're safe, and I think a lot of those folks are going to go ahead and make the vote for this thing. But others, the problem is if you vote against it, there's some people who might blame you for standing in the way of progress, depending on your political persuasion. So it's a tough vote either way.
Mm-hmm. I just wonder, too, that I remember that Secretary Paulson said, if you just give me some of this money, not all of the money, there'll be grave consequences. Well, he's only getting a portion of the money. Why is he happy about this?
Installments.
Well, you're talking about $250 billion, still, the first installment, which is still a huge amount of money. And, it's funny, we talk so much about the importance of this bill to Democratic lawmakers, to Republican lawmakers, to Obama, to McCain, to Wall Street, to Main Street. We almost forget about how important this is to President Bush. I mean, you think about this. Right. Here's a guy in the final couple months of his presidency. We always thought of him as a wartime president. He called himself a wartime president. And now, all of a sudden, we're talking about a deal that may or may not avert a depression. Right. I mean, the two great challenges that presidents face during their tenure are wars and major economic recessions or depressions. Sure. They don't happen very often. So this, love or hate President Bush, this has been a consequential presidency.
Well, here he comes. He's just about 20 seconds away. He's coming through the Rose Garden. We're going to talk a little more with you, Bill Salmon, on the other side of this statement. The president is going to be talking for about 4 minutes. We understand he probably will not be taking any questions.
And then we're going to talk to Steve Forbes.
Yesterday, leaders here in Washington reached an extraordinary agreement to deal with an extraordinary problem in our economy. Working closely with my administration, congressional leaders from both parties produced the Emergency Economic Stabilization Act. A bold bill that will help keep the crisis in our financial system from spreading throughout our economy. This legislation deals with complex issues, and negotiators were asked to address them in a very short period of time. I appreciate the leadership of members on both sides of the aisle who came together when our nation was counting on them. Negotiations are sometimes difficult, but their hard work and cooperation paid off. The bipartisan economic rescue plan addresses the root cause of the financial crisis. The assets related to home mortgages that have lost value during the housing decline. Under the Emergency Economic Stabilization Act, the federal government will be authorized to purchase these assets from banks and other financial institutions, which will help free them to resume lending to businesses and consumers. The bill also includes other important ideas put forward by members of Congress from both parties. For example, the bill requires the establishment of a guarantee program that will ensure assets at no cost to the taxpayer. The bill provides strong bipartisan oversight so Americans can be certain that their tax dollars are used carefully and wisely. The bill ensures that failed executives do not receive a windfall from your tax dollars. With this strong and decisive legislation, we will help restart the flow of credit so American families can meet their daily needs and American businesses can make purchases, ship goods, and meet their payrolls. We'll make clear that the United States is serious about restoring confidence and stability in our financial system. I know many Americans are worried about the cost of the bill, and I understand their concern. This bill commits up to $700 billion taxpayer dollars because a large amount of money is necessary to have an impact on our financial system. However, both the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office and the Office of Management and Budget expect that the ultimate cost to the taxpayer will be far less than that. In fact, we expect that over time, much, if not all, of the tax dollars we invest will be paid back. Now that this legislation has been agreed to by leaders of both parties, it must be passed by both houses of Congress. Now, I fully understand that this will be a difficult vote. But with the improvements made to this bill, I'm confident that members of both parties will support it. Congress can send a strong signal to markets at home and abroad by passing this bill promptly. Every member of Congress and every American should keep in mind, a vote for this bill is a vote to prevent economic damage to you and your community. This has been a volatile time for our financial system and our economy. Even with the important steps we're taking to address the current crisis, we will continue to face serious challenges. The impact of the credit crisis and the housing correction will continue to pressure our financial system and impact the growth of our economy for some time. But I'm confident that this rescue plan, along with other measures taken by the Treasury Department and the Federal Reserve, will begin to restore strength and stability to America's financial system and overall economy. And I'm confident that in the long run, America will overcome these challenges and remain the most dynamic and productive economy in the world. Thank you.
All right, there you got the president making about a 4-minute statement from the Rose Garden. Bill Salmon is still with us. Bill, you've known this guy for a long time. You've written a couple of books about him. As you watched him do that right there, what were you struck by?
Well, I was struck by, first of all, the fact that he said that most, if not all, of the tax dollars will be paid back. I think that's the first time that he personally has gone that far. I was also struck by the fact that here's a guy who is obviously not facing re-election again, and he's an unpopular president, and yet he's in the position now of trying to sway public opinion. Most of the public, as we know, doesn't like this bill. Yeah. He's got to sway public opinion and build support for it on behalf of the lawmakers who are putting their necks on the line, who do have to face re-election. So it'll be interesting to see whether he can move people by telling them that, look, it isn't as big a risk as you may have thought, because a lot of these tax dollars, and perhaps all of them, will end up getting paid back.
Interesting. All right, Steve Forbes joins us on the couch, and of course I'm waiting for your opinion on this whole thing, because I'm looking at the Dow futures this morning, Steve. They're down 200 points.
If this were a dictatorship, it'd be a heck of a lot easier. Just so long as I'm the dictator.